Welcome to India Inside, the GCC Advantage. We're the CoreBridge GCC Desk. Essentially, we partner with state governments, multinational investors, really helping accelerate global capability center expansion.
That's right. And our focus is very much on navigating the policy landscape and critically reducing risk for large global companies looking at India.
And our mission with this show, it's straightforward. We want to give you, our CXO listeners, the strategic clarity, the thought leadership you need
to really maximize India's potential, because it is the definitive GCC hub now. This isn't just about back offices anymore, is it? It's about driving genuine competitive advantage globally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So today we're tackling that big claim head on. Why India is the world's GCC capital. Because, a subtle shift has happened, almost under the radar for some.
A profound shift, really.
Yeah.
These global capability centers, they've evolved. They're not just cost centers.
Not at all. They're strategic engines. They're driving product roadmaps, doing advanced engineering, even leading the charge on AI development worldwide.
So today we'll dig into, what's behind this? The macro forces, those 4 fundamental pillars of India's advantage.
And importantly, the role of state policy, which has become a real game changer.
Definitely. And we'll wrap up with a practical checklist for leaders like you, whether you're considering expansion or maybe scaling up what you already have here.
Okay, let's unpack that shift first. From cost center to a genuine strategic asset. When we say GCC, we mean a global capability center. It's a fully owned subsidiary doing high-value work.
Right. Not just outsourced tasks.
Exactly. And there are really 2 big forces redefining strategy here. First, it's this centralization of strategic capabilities.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest change we've seen over, say, the last 5 years. MNCs, the big multinationals, they're consolidating the really valuable stuff.
Like what specifically?
Well, think R&D, core product engineering, AI development, cybersecurity, data platforms. They're putting these into specific locations.
And India offers that unique mix.
It does. You've got the deep STEM talent pool, obviously, but also cost efficiency and, crucially, the time zone advantage. So these GCCs become co-innovation labs, actual product hubs owning global deliverables.
Not just supporting them.
Precisely. They own them.
Okay, and the second course. You mentioned it's more aggressive.
Yes. Digital and AI transformation. The sheer speed of it. This has completely changed how we measure value.
So it's not just about labor arbitrage anymore, calculating savings per headcount.
Not primarily, no. The key metric now is the ability to scale engineering velocity. How fast can you build, test, deploy, and can you access the specialized talent needed?
You mean AML engineers, platform architects, cloud specialists, those kinds of roles?
Exactly. Having that capability isn't a nice to have. It's becoming non-negotiable if you want to compete in the future.
So for a leader listening, what are the signals? What should they be watching for?
Well, look at the data. The share of corporate R&D, the advanced engineering roles, more and more are moving into these GCC structures. That's a clear trend.
And risk is playing a part too.
Absolutely. Resilience is key now. You can't rely on a single city or even a single country for critical functions. So diversifying the GCC footprint makes sense.
Plus the speed. If you're in an AI-first product cycle, how quickly you can hire for a specific center of excellence or CoE, that's make or break.
It really is. Time to hire is central to winning.
Okay, so this strategic shift, it rests on something unique to India. You mentioned 4 pillars.
Yes. It's the convergence of these 4 factors that makes India's position so strong. It's not just one thing.
Right, number 1.
Talent. We all know about the scale, the depth in STEM graduates, but the crucial evolution now is the growing pool of specialists.
Product managers, ML engineers, people who can actually own the end-to-end process.
Exactly. That's what allows GCCs to move up the value chain toward complete product ownership, not just component work.
Okay, talent is pillar 1. What's number 2?
Number 2 is this interesting mix of cost and quality. Even with some wage inflation locally, the total cost of delivery, the TCO, it's still highly competitive.
Compared to Western Europe. Or even nearshore options like Poland or Ireland.
Yes, because you have massive economies of scale in specialized services here. And importantly, the delivery maturity has improved dramatically.
So you can handle more complex, higher margin work efficiently.
That's the point. We're talking high-margin engineering, complex problem-solving, not just repetitive back-office tasks. The quality piece is critical.
Got it. Talent, cost plus quality. Pillar 3.
Policy and ecosystem. This provides the structural backbone. So physically, those targeted state-level incentives that genuinely lower risk and cost. We'll dive deeper into that shortly.
Is the 4th pillar.
Infrastructure and livability. The main hubs, Bengaluru, Pune, Hyderabad, they're mature, world-class ecosystems. But the real story now is the rapid infrastructure build-out in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities.
You mean 5G rollout, new data centers, innovation districts popping up?
Yes, exactly. That's enabling growth beyond the traditional metros.
And that focus on regional growth, infrastructure, it leads us straight into the policy discussion, doesn't it?
It does, because for any CXO making an expansion decision today, the real game changer, honestly, over the last, say, 18 to 24 months, it hasn't been central government policy as much as the state policies.
Interesting. So it's become much more specific at the state level.
Highly specific. States are now actively, aggressively competing for strategic jobs and, importantly, for intellectual property creation.
So they're offering targeted incentives, things you can actually plug into a business case.
Precisely. Just look at some examples. Take Gujarat's GCC policy for 2025-2030. They've set clear public targets, 250 new GCC units, 50,000 jobs.
Wow, specific targets.
Very. And they directly link incentives to high-value activities like tech R&D, often tying benefits into assets like Gift City for fintech.
Okay, that's Gujarat. What about somewhere else?
Look at Madhya Pradesh. Their 2024 policy uses a layered approach. They offer CapEx subsidies, support for payroll, even assistance for filing patents.
Patent assistance.
Yeah.
That shows they understand the innovation focus, right? It's not just about bodies and seats.
Exactly. It acknowledges the long-term investment in innovation and talent that a modern GCC represents.
And even established markets are adapting, like Karnataka.
Yes, look at Karnataka. Their strategy is very much focused on beyond Bengaluru growth now. They've established an official AI center of excellence. They have innovation funds, clear skilling targets.
So they're actively trying to spread the growth and maybe alleviate some pressure on Bengaluru itself.
Right. They're using their established position to fund and seed that next wave of regional expansion. It's quite strategic.
So bringing this back to the CXO listener.
Yeah.
Why does this granularity in state policy matter so much?
Because fundamentally, good policy reduces risk. 3 core business risks, really.
Okay, what are they?
First, time to market risk. How quickly can you get approvals? Find the right specialized R&D space. Good policy streamlines that.
Makes sense.
Second,
Talent risk. Can you find and retain the skilled people you need? Policies offering subsidized skilling programs, strong university linkages, they directly address this.
and the third risk, the cost and risk of actually building IP in a new location. Things like patent filing assistance, direct R&D support, they mitigate this financial and operational risk.
So it essentially converts government promises into measurable inputs for your TCO calculation. It makes the benefits tangible.
Exactly. It adds predictability.
This strong policy push, particularly supporting regional growth, it leads to a big question, doesn't it? Are India's Tier 2 cities the next billion-dollar GCC corridors?
That's the strategic question leaders are asking now. And companies are looking beyond the Tier 1 metros. They almost have to.
Why? What are the constraints in the big cities?
Well, it's becoming intense. Talent competition is fierce, which drives up wage inflation. And attrition rates can be really challenging in the major hubs like Bengaluru or Hyderabad. Plus, the resilience factor we mentioned earlier.
Diversification is pushing them outwards.
It is. And the key thing is Tier 2 is ready now in a way it wasn't 5 or 10 years ago. The talent pools from universities and engineering colleges in these regions, they've matured significantly. You often have clusters graduating tens of thousands of skilled engineers annually. The raw talent is there.
And hiring models have changed too.
Yes, hybrid models are huge. You don't necessarily need to relocate every senior specialist to an expensive metro anymore. You can build focused teams for specific capabilities, say platform operations or cybersecurity monitoring right there in a Tier 2 city.
Where your hiring advantage might be greater.
Potentially much greater. And the state incentives often sweeten the deal, with higher subsidies sometimes offered for setting up outside the main metro.
You mentioned a case study, a European firm.
Yes, a composite case study, but based on real scenarios we've seen, a mid-sized European financial services firm.
What was their challenge?
They needed to move their mortgage analytics function and also set up a brand new fraud detection center of excellence. London was getting too expensive, and they needed scale.
Did they look elsewhere globally?
Oh, yes. They evaluated the usual suspects, Poland, Ireland, alongside several Indian metros. But ultimately, they chose Ahmedabad in the Gujarat cluster.
Interesting. A Tier 2 location winning out over global competitors in Indian metros. What swung it?
It was really that combination. ready access to the specific engineering talent they needed, plus Gujarat's very targeted OpEx reimbursements.
OpEx reimbursements, like what?
Things like covering a portion of their bandwidth costs, cloud spend, even rental support for the first few years. These directly reduce their operating expenses significantly.
Okay, so what was the bottom line? What did the results look like after, say, 18 months?
The results were quite dramatic, actually. They achieved about a 40% reduction in total cost of ownership compared to the Tier 1 metro alternative they'd modeled once you factored in those state incentives.
40% TCO reduction. That's huge. Now, I have to ask, was that just labor cost difference, or did it account for potentially higher management overhead, maybe travel costs for setting up in a new, less familiar market?
No, that was a comprehensive TCO model. The policy incentives were crucial in offsetting some initial costs, absolutely. But the really interesting metric wasn't just cost, it was innovation return.
How so?
The Ahmedabad Center moved much faster than planned from just being a support function to taking actual product ownership. They took full global ownership of 2 product modules within that 18-month timeframe.
Faster than expected.
Much faster. And their attrition was surprisingly low. They linked that directly to the local leadership development programs they ran, which were partly subsidized through state skilling reimbursements. So that helped offset the typical ramp-up costs you might expect in a Tier 2 greenfield setup. The return on innovation exceeded their conservative plans.
A very compelling case. Okay,
right.
So looking ahead then, with this policy momentum, these kinds of successes, where's the market heading?
Well, conservatively, we project India's overall GCC market size could easily exceed $100 billion by 2030.
$100 billion.
Yes. And headcount could be anywhere in the range of 2.5 to maybe 4.5 million people working in GCCs if this current state-level policy momentum continues.
So for leaders listening, what should they expect to see emerge in the coming years?
I think you'll see a much denser network of these highly specialized centers of excellence focused on specific domains, AI, cybersecurity, maybe semiconductor R&D, not just broad-based engineering centers.
And more sophisticated strategies for Tier 2.
Definitely. We'll see mature playbooks for Tier 2 economics becoming standard, demonstrating faster hiring, lower attrition, really strong, actively managed links between industry and local universities.
More public-private partnerships, too.
Increased opportunities there, yes.
Yeah.
Things like public-private innovation funds, maybe dedicated matching grants for setting up specific types of COEs.
But it can't all be smooth sailing. What are the risks leaders need to model? What should they watch out for?
Good question. The biggest challenge, I think, is potential regulatory and compliance fragmentation. Well, while state competition is great for driving incentives, managing a complex GCC across multiple states, it gets complicated if the rules aren't harmonized. If single window clearances don't really work smoothly, or if different states interpret eligibility criteria differently.
That could quickly eat into that TCO advantage you mentioned.
Absolutely. It adds friction, cost, and uncertainty. That's a real risk that needs proactive management.
So early engagement with the state policy teams is critical.
Essential. The other big factor, of course, is the global macro environment, a significant tightening of capital markets, or maybe aggressive nearshoring pushes in Europe or the US that could potentially shift the incentive landscape or funding timelines for some companies.
So the India strategy needs to be robust enough to handle some global economic headwinds.
Exactly. It needs resilience baked in, assuming maybe 2 or 3 years of potential turbulence.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. If you're a CXO, maybe starting this journey or looking to scale up your existing India capability, what's the practical checklist? What steps should you take?
All right. Based on what we've discussed, here's a 5-step strategic checklist.
Okay.
Step 1. First, define your strategic intent. Be crystal clear. Is this primarily product-led R&D, what we call ER&D? Is it advanced engineering? Or is it more cost-focused business process management, BPM?
Why is that distinction so critical up front?
Because that choice dictates everything else, the ideal location profile, the density of talent you need, which state policies are most relevant. Get the intent wrong, and you'll struggle later.
Makes sense. Okay, step 2.
Second, map the state advantages. Don't just do a superficial comparison of labor costs. You need to drill down. Identify the specific, measurable, often non-fiscal incentives like those internship programs, skilling grants, CAPE-Ex-Apex subsidies that align directly with your strategic intent from step 1.
So match the policy to the purpose. Step 3.
Third, pilot pragmatically, especially if you're looking at Tier 2. Start focused. Pick one cluster. Have a concrete 12 to 18-month roadmap.
Avoid going too big too fast.
Yes, that's a common mistake. Maybe start with 50 to 100 heads. Prove the model. Hit your initial metrics on attrition, on productivity, maybe on product ownership milestones, then scale to 300 or 500 or more.
Pilot, prove, then scale. Got it. Step 4.
Fourth, secure your policy SBOC. That's single point of contact. Get written confirmations from the relevant government agency contact.
Confirmations on what exactly?
On eligible expenses, on the timelines for disbursement, on the reporting requirements. You need to ensure the policy promise translates directly into financial predictability for your business case. Document everything.
Crucial for accountability. Okay, and the final step, number 5.
Finally, build retention, especially for that critical mid to senior manager layer. Losing them is the biggest threat to successfully scaling your GCC.
So what does building retention look like in practice?
It means investing heavily in local mentorship programs, creating clear career pathways within the GCC and linking them to HQ. Actively foster connections between leaders at HQ and in the GCC. Make sure the culture is strong and people feel valued and see a future.
Define intent, map advantages, pilot pragmatically, secure the SPOC, build retention. That's a solid framework.
We think so. Look, the narrative around India's GCCs has fundamentally changed. It's not just a cost story anymore. It's about this unique convergent scale, deep specialist skill, and increasingly very proactive and enabling state policies.
It really offers global companies a clear path towards building resilient product ownership capabilities and accessing strategic talent depth for the future.
The smart approach now seems to be thinking regionally within India. Combine those careful, pragmatic pilots with aggressive strategic engagement across both the talent landscape and the evolving policy environment.
Well said. And if you, our listener, want help navigating this, we encourage you to connect with us at the CoreBridge GCC Desk. We can help with mapping those state incentives, conducting due diligence, and designing those phased pilots to really minimize your execution risk.
Absolutely. And you can find CoreBridge curated resources, links to policy insights, and a detailed study guide complementing this discussion. It's all available for download in the description right below this audio.
Definitely check that out. Now, next time on India Inside, we're going to explore that Beyond Bengaluru blueprint in more detail. How are India's established GCC hubs actively funding and seeding the next wave of regional growth? What does that mean for location strategy?
It should be a fascinating discussion. We hope you'll join us again as we continue to explore how to shape the next decade of global capability leadership, right here from India.
Disclaimer. The views expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of CoreBridge or its affiliates. All investments involve risk. Credits. India Inside is produced by CoreBridge Insights.